On today's episode of the Mark Titus Show, multiple sources are reporting that we now officially have an NBA Finals. They are officially underway. They were not underway after Game 1 because obviously after Game 1, the Denver Nuggets were going to steamroll their way into a sweep. This was going to be a very boring NBA Finals. I was seeing people talking about the ratings. We were already getting the ratings tweets, that the ratings are down, that this is Denver's fault. They're too good. Who let Miami in the Finals? They don't belong here. And then lo and behold, one game later, now all of a sudden the Heat have figured the Nuggets out, and the Heat are actually going to win the NBA championship, and we now have to wrap our brains around an 8 seed that was in the play-in game winning the title. No, it's going to be a fun Finals. I certainly did not see this coming in Game 2, but I thought the Heat would be competitive. I think, what did I ultimately end on? Denver in 5, I want to say, but I thought that Denver would take care of business at home. They did not do that. And as we talked about with Jason Timpf, the surprises in this sport are what makes it fun. The Duncan Robinson show came to life in the fourth quarter. He was incredible. He's been so fun these playoffs. He's showing out in the finals. That was awesome. The Heat hand the Nuggets their first home loss since March is what the broadcast said, which blew my mind. I started counting back the months and I was like, my God, this team really never loses at home. Their first loss of any kind in 7 games. The Heat goes 17 for 35 from 3. It was the kind of game that I think is hopefully going to get people back into the finals. Unfortunately, I feel like most people just like kind of make up their mind on what the finals will be, and then once they've checked out, they're like, I'll check back in if it's Game 7. But this is going to be an awesome series, and the Heat have completely turned this on its head, and it's been fascinating to watch all the basketball people, all the NBA people that have been covering this stuff all season, trying to make sense of these Miami Heat. Also, we got to talk about Zach Edey back at Purdue. He officially, when we recorded last, I think we were recording the show the day that he was about to make his decision, and then a couple hours after we recorded, he said he's coming back to Purdue. What does this mean for Fairleigh Dickinson? Is this a Matt Painter legacy year? I say yes. And where are we now? Now that the deadline has come and gone, where are we now in the way too early preseason rankings? Are we now shifting into the too early preseason rankings? That's the question everyone's asking. Should I release my too early preseason rankings? Because, spoiler alert, I think Purdue's going to be up there. And I think if you're a Purdue fan, you're now starting to talk yourself into, and in a lot of the same ways that the Celtics fans were talking themselves into the 0-3 comeback parallel with the 0-4 Red Sox. I think Purdue fans are now talking themselves into the parallels to the 2019 Virginia team that lost to a 16 seed and they went on to win the national championship. But I want to talk about Zach Edey coming back at Purdue because the Big Ten, sorry haters, is going to be a great league next year. And will it matter in the end? I don't know, because I think Purdue is going to be the best team in the Big Ten. Michigan State is going to be really good. But will any of these teams have a chance to actually win a national championship? Maybe we'll talk about that in a little bit. I also have to talk about TJ with like 3 or 4 other things that we'll just save for the show. But this is going to be a fun show. I have a lot of stuff I want to hit on. But yeah, most of it will be the Miami Heat taking Game 2 in Denver and making this finals a lot more fun than anyone expected. So let's talk about that coming up. All right, we're going to talk about the Heat taking Game 2 soon enough. Before we do, I need TJ to explain to me this darts situation that was going on this weekend, which is something that I both know about and know absolutely nothing about at the same time. Like, I of course know what darts are. I of course know that there are live events that people go watch darts take place. So like when I ask you what exactly is this, I don't mean that part of it. I mean, why do I all of a sudden see on social media you having a WWE championship belt on your shoulder?
Yeah.
and acted a fool at a darts event. What happened, TJ? What is this? Explain to me what this is.
It's the Pro Darts Championship, which is like the European darts circuit, and they do one event in the States every year, and it's in New York. And last year, we had 50 people go, like probably 45 of them were Barstool employees. And people...
When you say we had 50 people go, it means... What does that mean?
Say again?
What do you mean by we had 50 people go?
Like
the whole... Like in the whole arena, or like your group, or...
Me and 50 of my friends went together. Basically every behind-the-scenes person at Barstool went together last year, and it caught on enough that this year we had a group of 140 people go.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So it's the biggest party in sports. There's no other sports venue that I've ever been to that's as rowdy, as drunk, and as like enthusiastic for the sport as a professional darts championship tournament. It's incredible.
Yeah, as I'm taking this all in, that my FOMO is through the roof. You know, it looks absolutely electric, but also I have just so many questions. And we're obviously like slightly ironic about this. It's not like nobody in the group is like actually plugged in and saying like, when this guy hits the triple 20, that changes my life because I've been waiting for this guy to hit a triple 20. Like, you know, I've been following him his whole career and he's never hit it in the big moment. And now he just did. So now I'm going to lose my mind. There's a wink, like we're right. Am I right? Like we're hamming it up.
We're there to see Michael Van Gerwen put on a performance, and that's exactly what he did. He was down 6-4 in the semifinals, and he won 3 straight legs to come back and go to the finals, and then he destroyed the guy in the finals, Jeff Smith. But like, good for him. What a run! But absolutely ran into a buzzsaw that is Michael Van Gerwen to take home the championship. Came in second last year, lost to the world champion who got upset in the qualifiers this year. This is a serious thing. I don't know what you're talking about. Ironic.
So, but how do you go from? I'm sure there was a point in your life, TJ, where you knew nothing about darts. You did not watch professional darts,
right?
And then suddenly you wake up on the morning of darts, and this was at Madison Square Garden. You said,
yeah, the small room at MSG,
the small where they used to do the NBA draft, or do they still do it? No, they moved the draft around now. At one point in your life, you did not care about any of this, and now all of a sudden you have a WWE championship belt thrown over your shoulder. Right. You have darts. It's just a drunken, insane party. What happened between point A and point B? Like walk me through that process of how we got to this point.
I think last year at some point we just realized that this was a thing, and darts clips go viral all the time because it's such like a crazy atmosphere. And we were like, we kind of have to do this. It's right in our backyard.
So you had seen like enough. You saw enough clips to be like, that looks fun. I want to go.
Darts goes viral a couple times a year just because it's like the crowd is overseas. They do it in like arenas, like 20,000 or 15,000 seat arenas, and the entire floor is just like bar tables that are like hundreds of feet long with guys in costumes sitting just like dancing, and it's a captivating atmosphere.
Well, that was another question I had was, is this something that already existed, or was this like you and your group showed up and now you've turned this into, so you're telling me this was already like a just insane party?
I would say this is probably like a top 8 popular sport in like the UK.
That's going to be on their homepage. You go to darts.com. It's going to say, TJ Hitchings. This is top probably 8. Like a top 8 sport in the UK. Yeah, because you'll be happy to know, TJ. I thought you guys had enough sway that like this was your thing. That like darts was like a golf crowd that was just like softly clapping until the Barstool contingent showed up and just turned it into a fucking rager. But now I got to figure out how I go. So it's it's only one time in America. So it's in New York. It's not like this is ever coming through Chicago when we moved to Chicago, or like through the
maybe a different. But this is like the world circuit level. Like these are the best players in the world, and it's like an official tournament for them that they happen to play in New York. And what's it's already announced for next year.
What's the college darts scene looking like? What's the Big Ten?
Is there an NIL market for darts players?
All right. Well, I think I have enough to go off. I mean, I still have. We could talk about this forever, but
invites on the table for next year.
I do want to go. Yeah, like my FOMO is incredible, and seeing like PFT just chanting "Let's go darts."
PFT was his first darts day, and he stepped into that role gracefully and led from the front as one of the more senior members of the crew.
How drunk are we getting? Like, is this like a wake up at 6 a.m. and we're letting it rip immediately? Are we slow playing it? Is it like
we got to the bar at like 4, and the darts started at like 7:15, 7:30. So not like crazy, but once you're in there, it's like you're
getting after it. Yeah. But it's not like did anybody in the crew pass out?
Yeah. one of our like high ups on the social team, Chuck Naso, tweeted a picture of himself just like asleep in one of the chairs in
Oh
MSG.
my god. Oh my god. All right.
Darts Day. There's no rules at Darts Day.
All right. Well, noted. Next year, it's the same time every year.
Yeah, first weekend.
It's
in
around
June.
the same.
So don't schedule any weddings around then. Don't schedule any birthday parties.
Dude, that's so if I fold this into my routine, I'm doing Indy 500 and darts back to back weekends. Oh my god. Let's get after it. All right. Well, there we go. I'm satisfied. Moving on. Let's talk about the Heat taking game 2 in Denver. My first thought with this is I kind of touched on it at the top that the reactions are killing me these playoffs, and especially with the Heat, because the Heat are every team they play in the playoffs is more talented on paper is what everyone says, but then like there's a point in every series with the Heat where you step back and you're like, why are we saying they're more talented? Walk me through that again. Like Jimmy Butler's pretty good, Bam Adebayo's pretty. It's basically just the undrafted guys on the Heat make everyone say they're not talented, but then like you watch them play and you're like, I don't know, they're pretty talented. So like, what are we basing this off of? It's a very fascinating thing because the Heat could sweep a team in the playoffs, and I still feel like the team that they swept, everyone would say was more talented. I don't know. That's something that we usually say for college basketball discussions when it's like a one night upset, where like just like if you're using Fairleigh Dickinson Purdue, you would say Purdue is. I would assume if they played a 7-game series, Purdue would not lose that 7-game series. So. That makes sense to me to be like Purdue is more talented, but on this night, Fairleigh Dickinson, the stars aligned and they pulled off the upset. But everyone keeps saying that about the Heat, and it is so wild, dude, to just see the. I know the feeling. I mean, I talked about it with Timph when you cover college basketball and you get a run like Loyola Chicago in 2018. And then all the people that don't follow college basketball closely, like come to me and they're like, make sense of this for me. And I'm like, you think I fucking knew that this was coming? That Loyola Chicago was going to just dominate the NCAA tournament and make a Final Four? I did not. No. So I'm definitely confused by this. But that's where it seems like the NBA people are at, is like, on the one hand, you want to celebrate the Heat because Spoelstra's an incredible coach. Jimmy is I've talked about him enough on the show that he's one of my favorite players in the league to root for. Certainly up there with, it's like him and Dame are my favorite American guys for sure. And then the undrafted part of it all, like that narrative that just keeps beating over everyone's head, which was funny. Last night I saw they put up a graphic of all the college pictures, and Duncan Robinson was wearing the Williams college jersey. And I was laughing at that because I was like, we're so far into this that like you very easily just could have used a picture from Michigan and still said he was undrafted, but he played at Michigan. But they're like throwing up like Williams college pictures just to really drive home the point that this guy was not supposed to be here. That cracked me up. And obviously as a Buckeye, I was like, yeah, don't give Michigan any shine. Take the Michigan jersey off. Get that out of here. But yeah, so Miami wins last night, and now the whiplash you get, and especially this has been true with Miami more than any other team in the playoffs, but the whiplash you get with this team and with the narrative and the discussions around every time they win or lose. Like I think there's something that goes on with people when they watch the NBA where the last game that they watched is what they think. They make the mistake of thinking that is now going to happen in every game moving forward. And this happens to me too. I mean, I do the exact. I'm not saying like I'm better than everyone else. I'm just calling out the behaviors that I participate in as well. So when the Heat lose game 1, you're like, well, this series is obviously this is gross. This is going to be a gross series. The Denver didn't even play particularly well in game 1. Didn't really shoot that well. The Heat didn't either, but it's like, we'll just wait till this Denver offense gets rolling. Then it's going to be, the Heat have no chance. How are you going to stop Jokic and Murray and Porter and the guys they bring off the bench? Like that was kind of the discussion. Now the Heat win game 2, and no one has learned any lesson where like it feels like now it's like, oh shit, now the Heat, 1, have home court advantage. 2, the defense is really throwing a wrench in Denver, what Denver's trying to do. The Denver's unstoppable offense looked very, very stoppable in game 2. And on top of that, the Heat shooters that everyone in that Boston series kept thinking like at some point the Heat are going to miss shots, and they kind of never did. And then they did in game 1 because they just got off of a 7-game series where they're exhausted. Now they're playing in altitude, and I think it was a lot of those factors. They start missing. Everyone's like, there we go, back to regression to the mean. Game 2, the Heat goes 17 for 35 from 3, and now it just feels like a runaway train of like, shit, is Denver in trouble? Not that like I don't think like people are saying the Heat are, I don't mean to say that like that's people are now saying that the Heat are going to steamroll Denver or whatever, but like now we've arrived at a point where it's like, oh shit, maybe the Heat have figured something out with Denver, and now Denver's in trouble. And I just find the whole thing fascinating because we as a basketball viewing public never learn our lesson that like just because the Heat it was working, and we'll talk about what was working and that sort of thing, but like the Heat winning game 2 does not necessarily, I don't think going into game 3 this means that the Heat are in the driver's seat. I still think the Nuggets are the better team, and I'm not just saying that because of on paper. I still think like the Nuggets from top to bottom like have a better thing going, but it is now officially getting like the Heat taking game 2 now officially does make this a series. I'm now officially like, all right, so some of these things that I thought wouldn't work for the Heat, such as the zone, holy shit, who saw that coming? Now, if some of these things can work, and if the Heat can, I mean, like, you do think at some point they're not going to shoot 17 for 35 from 3 every single night, but at this point in the run that they're on, I think if you're saying like every time they get hot that was a fluke and that's not going to happen in the next game, you're insane. And as it turns out, with a team like the Heat and having so many guys that could shoot threes like that, it almost doesn't matter if they're hitting. The threat of Max Strus and Duncan Robinson and Caleb Martin and Gabe Vincent and Kyle Lowry when he's hit, like mostly Duncan and Strus though, when those two dudes are running around screens, whether they're going to make them or not, like the fact that you have to now respect them, that was kind of the story to me of this game was the way Denver was like the Heat come out hitting shots and the way Denver's defense is reacting to that. It almost felt panicky where like Duncan in the fourth quarter, as Duncan Robinson got rolling, that dude could have just like, he could have never even touched the ball, and the impact he was having on Heat possessions just by simply running around, and Denver's defense is like, fuck, he's over there. Okay, now he's over there. Now he's over there. And they're just keying on him everywhere he's going, which is insane because like a player of his caliber who played at Williams College and then never played anywhere else in college and then went undrafted, he's like, you're supposed to treat superstars that way. You're not supposed to treat Max Strus and Duncan Robinson and guys like that way. So I think that's what's fascinating about the Heat is that they are a make shots team. That's ultimately what they are. They're a make shots team. When they're hitting their threes, the way teams guard them gets drastically changed because I think teams go tight butthole on it, and you start panicking about the threat of Duncan Robinson and Max Strus and all these shooters. And then on top of that, Bam Adebayo has been playing great in these first 2 games so far. Like the Nuggets are giving Bam Adebayo as many mid-range jump shots as he wants, and to his credit, he's hitting them. I don't know how sustainable that is, but also at the same time, Bam is. He's like you can't say that with the Heat anymore. That's the lesson that you have to learn. Is at some point, if Jokic is going to back off Bam Adebayo on these ball screen the ball screen coverages, and Bam can do like the little short roll and you catch it at the free throw line. He's just inside the free throw line, and he's got uncontested jumpers nonstop. And it feels like Denver right now is just saying we're gonna live with that. We're gonna let him shoot as many of those as he wants. At some point, if he keeps hitting those, you do have to say, maybe we should do something different. But yeah, that to me was the story was the Heat were making shots, and just Denver's defense panicking based around that was interesting to watch unfold. And then on the other side, Denver's offense, I thought from the tip, they were just taking horrendous shots. And Miami's defense is to credit. Like this is something that happens with Miami, with teams Miami plays. That's been happening all playoffs. So like Miami gets all the credit. I don't want to say that this was like, like it was all Denver and Miami did nothing to cause this. But from the start, like when Miami jumped out to the big lead, like Denver was just taking horrendous shot after horrendous shot. They kind of never stopped doing that. And I think that is something I think Denver will probably fix, because every single time we go to timeout, Michael Malone was talking to his guys, I'm not worried about the offense, I'm worried about the defense. And as I was watching, I was like, I don't know, coach, I would be worried about the offense. I would be worried about, it felt like Denver, and they'll do this when they get up big, they kind of, it's not necessarily my turn basketball, but they do kind of let their foot off the gas where it's like, they start taking more heat check shots, and Porter and Murray can do that a lot. And I know they came back and Denver got down big towards the end, and then they come back, and Murray has the shot at the end to send it to OT. But for most of that game, it felt like when you see Denver throughout these playoffs, there'll be times where they'll build a big lead, they kind of let the lead slip away, and that when they play that style of basketball, like those stretches when they let the lead slip away, I was seeing that kind of style of play from the tip in this game, and that was concerning to me. So I don't know. I think that we do have a series, because I think Denver, for as unstoppable as they are, I think they did shoot themselves in the foot a lot. But now a guy like me who's like wants to make sense of all this, I'm left trying to make sense of whether it was, how much of it was Miami's defense and how much of it was Denver getting a little slightly complacent and just like getting a little panicky on defense. So that's where I'm at with this. Is I have no idea what the hell is going to happen, but I am excited because it did. I won't lie. After game one, I was like, "Fuck, this is going to be a sweep," and now it's not going to be a sweep. It's not. TJ, it can't be a sweep.
Yeah,
they both won one game.
I think the momentum certainly swings now that Miami's headed home in a tie series. I don't think that they can expect that they're going to have like Duncan Robinson rail like 10 straight points or Gabe Vincent scored 23 every game, especially if they have to go back to Denver and play in the elements again. I think that's why it was so surprising that they like outpaced the Nuggets, even if the Nuggets just weren't making shots. Is like you factor in how good they are at home and the altitude into everything like that. I was very surprised to see that the Heat were able to like push the pace offensively, because so many people deal with issues there. I don't think that they'll have that success again. I think that the Nuggets will make that adjustment, but the ball is certainly in Miami's court to go home and do something with it.
Yeah, I think most reasonable minds are like, this is still, if you're handicapping it, the Nuggets are still favorites. But like we said, like it's like, whoa, this is actually going to be a fun finals, and you're starting to see some of the adjustments that are going to have to be made. And the fact that the Heat keep doing this is incredible. And I love that Spoelstra has just gotten to the point where he's just like, he was already a Hall of Famer, but now he's just like cementing his legend status, where kind of what I said, I don't know if it was last show or I think it was, where Jimmy doesn't even have to, the Heat don't even have to win the finals for Jimmy Butler to build on his legacy at this point. Like Jimmy Butler just like takes the court in a playoff game, and whether he wins, loses, or even puts up numbers, like somehow we're all drinking the Jimmy Butler Kool-Aid, and we're just like, damn, Jimmy did it again. And even in games that they lose, you're just like, Jimmy's a dog. God damn it, I love that guy. That's where we've gotten with Spoelstra, where it's like the Heat don't even have to win the finals. At this point, Spoelstra's his legacy, if that's the word, his stature within the game is at an all-time high. These playoffs have just been incredible to watch him. Like the lineup change of throwing Kevin Love, that silver fox bastard, that outlet passing, gray hair having slick son of a bitch. He comes in and he was great. And I think we'll obviously see more of him, because I think like you can't stop Jokic, but when you're guarding Jokic one-on-one, like a guy like Love is a good option, because he's like a crafty veteran that'll try to take charges, and like you're not going to stop Jokic, so like you might as well have a dude like him who can stretch the floor, who can rebound. He knows how to like flop. He knows how to flop. TJ, I was trying to come up with a different word, but he does know how to flop. I think he's super valuable. Having a guy like him that hasn't even played in the last few games, and then there's like, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna start him, and he's gonna be adequate in this game, and he's gonna make a difference. That's the luxury that Miami has. But the one thing that Spoelstra does, and I've touched on this before, but Max Strus in game 2 is enough for me to want to say it again. The one thing he does and the Heat do better than any other franchise, and why Heat culture is a very real thing, is that the Heat have figured out the confidence skill level, or the confidence level of all of their guys. Confidence to me is the most important skill. Like, knowing exactly how much confidence you should have as a player, I think, is the most important skill that any player can have. And for Max Strus in game 1 to be 0 of 10 and just have a horrendous game, couldn't hit a damn thing, and then come out in game 2 and not just make shots. It's not even the makes that I find fascinating. It's that he was gunning from the start, and it was a very clear, conscious effort from the Heat and from Strus as an individual to get him going, to not only get him going, TJ, but to get him to believe that he is a great shooter, and that we need you to if we're going to win an NBA championship, we need you to get hot both tonight and moving forward. That's something that I don't think other franchises would do quite as well. I mean, how many guys, like D'Angelo Russell's a great example with the Lakers, where like, yeah, D'Angelo Russell has his own flaws and his own problems, and some of it's probably self-inflicted, but you can't tell me that like the structure of the Lakers team doesn't factor into like D'Angelo Russell's not hitting shots. His confidence has to just go in the garbage, and like he's not ever getting that back. And that's not to say that I think D'Angelo Russell played on the Timberwolves and I'm not saying that like he would be one of the best players in the league if not for being teammates with LeBron. But I do think there is part of that where it's like you're asked to do a role on certain teams, and if you're not really, if one or two times you don't step up in your role, you get tight butthole about it, and you're like, I'm fucking this up and I'm going to be to blame. And the Heat don't do that. They never do that. Even a guy like Bam Adebayo, who was soft at times against the Celtics and looked like a guy who was positioning himself to be a scapegoat. If you're a Heat fan, you're going to point the finger at him and say like, what is this guy doing? And why is he, that happens to big guys more often than any other position. But Bam Adebayo is like, his intensity level can go up and down. But he comes out in these finals, and it's just like a next play mentality that this entire team has. Duncan Robinson's like on the bench for most of the season. Every time I watch a Heat game this season, Duncan's barely even getting in the game. Now he's scoring 10 points in the fourth quarter out of the gate. He's attacking the rim like he's Vince Carter or something. It's insane. It's not even just the back cuts. Like it was the back cuts for a while. You'd watch Duncan like back cut teams, and you watch him back cut the Celtics, and you're like, all right, well they're overplaying, his shooting threat. Now he's just taking dudes off the dribble and finishing at the rim. The flex was awesome, by the way. I don't know if you saw that, TJ. He had the shot at the layup he made or whatever, and he just flexes like he was LeBron dunking on dudes. Genius of Duncan, by the way, to just build a reputation in the league as a spot-up shooter, and that's all he can do. And so now every time he puts the ball on the floor, defenses are like, yeah, we got him. He's not going to do anything. And then he finishing at the rim, and everyone's like, what the hell's going on here? But I think that's what makes the team, that's what makes this Heat team so fun. That's what makes Spoelstra so good. Like if you're trying to figure out like, how is he doing this? What has he figured out that other coaches haven't figured out? It's that he instills the exact right amount of confidence in players, which you can have too much confidence. We see that from a lot of NBA players. Michael Porter at times. Michael Porter in game 2. And you could have too little confidence. And I really do believe that if Duncan Robinson and Max Strus were on different teams, and that's the reason you keep harping on the undrafted part of the Heat culture and all this sort of thing. If they were on different teams, if Duncan Robinson was in a different franchise, he would have his first like 0 of 7 night, and the franchise would be like, all right, we're done with you. We gave you a shot. That's it. Or it doesn't have to be the one night. Maybe it's like a bad week. Maybe it's a bad, whatever. He goes through like one little slump. They'd be like, we're done. Get out of here. The Heat don't do that. They see what everybody can do well. They put you in a position where all you have to do is the things you do well, and they let everything else fill in the gaps. The coaching, the lineups, all of it is just like genius. And I can't get enough of watching this Heat team win games that they frankly shouldn't win. The Nuggets should not have been stopped by this zone, TJ. The Heat should not have been able to throw a zone. I think Timph and I were laughing at it, the idea of the Heat zone working against the Nuggets. It still seems preposterous. And I do think a lot of it is self-inflicted by the Nuggets, and I think they'll figure it out eventually moving forward. But it shouldn't work, and it does work because everyone's on the same page, because everyone knows exactly what they're trying to do on the way they pass off guys in the zone, because it's not like a 2-3 zone like you see. It's not like a park the bus 2-3 zone that like a 7th grade junior high team runs, where when most people think of it like a 2-3, you just like kind of, you have 2 dudes standing at the elbows and then like a line of 3 at the baseline, and then we're all just going to stand here with our arms out. Basically that's what Syracuse has been running the last few years, which is why Syracuse has not been great. Joe Girard, standing at the elbow, just waving his arms up and down, and you're like, is this defense, Joe? Are we playing defense? That's not what the Heat are doing. The Heat are matching up. They're as cutters are cutting, they're bumping cutters to the next guy. Jokic comes to the high post. There's always someone fronting him, so he's not getting the ball. I don't think it's going to work long term. I don't think the Heat can play 48 minutes of Game 3 in zone and like stop the Nuggets. I don't think that's going to happen. But as a knuckleball, you can throw out there every so often. They're playing man to man, and then a few possessions they throw the zone. I didn't think it would work as well as it did. The Nuggets have the personnel to break the zone down, and they simply weren't, and that's what turned the game on its head, and that's what ultimately won the series for the Heat against the Celtics. And I don't know. That's where I'm stuck, TJ, because I think moving forward, I think the Nuggets, it was just so frustrating if you're cheering. I'll be completely honest and transparent. I'm probably cheering for the Nuggets. In fact, I am cheering for the Nuggets. I'm not a Nuggets fan. I just it's hard for me to watch basketball and not lean one way or another. Jokic is so freaking fun, and when these games get underway, I just want Jokic to be happy, and I want him to win a championship. I'm cheering for Nikola Jokic to win a championship. I am. So the part of me that's cheering for Jokic to win the championship, and you're watching this Nuggets offense in Game 2. I do think that they can get as good as the Heat. It felt like the Heat were guarding the Nuggets. The Nuggets still shot an incredible percentage. I forget what they were shooting, 50% from the field, 40% from three. They still scored plenty of points. I think the Nuggets can get any shot they want on the Heat if they are just patient and they move the ball, which is something they've done all season. But for whatever reason, and maybe this goes back to the Nuggets have won 7 straight games. They have not lost at home in these playoffs. They've not lost at home since March. What part of them is just starting to get a little complacent at the worst possible time, because you can't get complacent in the finals. You can't just give games away. But it did feel like watching them in Game 2, there was sort of a going through the motions with the offense, and the offense wasn't humming. And now, moving forward, you're all right, so in Game 3 and beyond, if the Nuggets just tighten up a little bit of the shot selection, Michael Porter and Jamal Murray too out of the gate. It was those two guys really. But if you tighten up the shot selection a little bit, you move the ball a little bit. You figure out I think at this point, as much as Spoelstra yelled at Ramona Shelbourne for asking him about are you trying to make Jokic a scorer more than a passer, and he was like, how dare you say that? Even though everybody's saying it's literally, he's the one person that's not what we're doing, and that every other person has been saying that's exactly what's going on. Steve Kerr said that, I saw on Draymond's podcast. He was yeah, they're doing exactly what we did against the Nuggets last year. We're making Jokic score. If Jokic gets more guys involved, I don't know. I don't need to flesh all this out. I'm thinking through it of I do think the Nuggets are ultimately going to be fine, and I do think that they're the better team, and they are going to win the NBA championship. But the way the Heat controlled that game, and the way the Heat get down big and still came back and chipped it, they're never out of any game. And the way the zone worked, there were just so many instances where I was scratching my head. I was I know what I've seen from the Miami Heat in this playoff run. I know that they continue to surprise everybody, but this is crazy that Denver's letting this zone do this to them. This is crazy that Denver is falling right into this trap. This is crazy that Denver defensively, and they're not great defensively, we know that, but it's crazy how panicky they are defensively and how they're just running around in circles on defense against this Miami offense. So that's the Heat very much can win an NBA championship, and that's where we're at, and that's crazy to think, because after Game 1, everyone's we're looking at a sweep.
The other thing about the Heat too, and we haven't even mentioned him, is Caleb Martin's pretty much done nothing in this series so far. I know he's been sick, but he's scored 3 points in Game 1, 3 points in Game 2. If he comes back into the form that he was in the Eastern Conference Finals, then it's okay, the Nuggets might be in trouble.
Yeah, and what the Heat having a roster like that, they don't need the same guys to step up every night. That's the luxury of having the balance that they have. They don't need that, and they have so many different guys that can beat you. I'm fired up about it. I thought it would be a good finals. I didn't think. I saw this as the Lakers Nuggets was a pretty good series, actually, even though it was a sweep. All 4 of those games were pretty close. I thought Nuggets in 5, but I thought there would be a competitive game. I didn't think the Nuggets would just steamroll every single night. But yeah, now it's starting to look like 6 or 7, or is it? I don't know. Maybe the Nuggets. I still think the Nuggets, if they're clicking and they get going like they can. I don't think the Heat are, because that's the other thing, is like if you're trying to make a case that the Nuggets are still very much in the driver's seat and should be heavy favored still, that was like worst case scenario game for the Nuggets. That was I mean, the Heat are hitting everything. The Nuggets couldn't. They seemed pretty broke at time. Michael Porter was a lost cause out there for most of the game. There were questionable calls. I know Jokic getting fouled by Bam. That was obviously a phantom call. So I'm not saying the refs were in favor of Miami, but there's like the goaltend, that wasn't called. There's Jimmy stepping on the line. Again, I'm not saying the refs were benefiting Miami. I'm just saying like. In a 3-point game that comes down to a final shot, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of like moments that you look back on. And you're like that one moment right there. Freaking KCP fouling 2 3-point shooters. You lose by 3 and you foul 2 3-point shooters. Don't do one of those, and there you go. We have a different game. So like you look back on all these moments of like, goddamn, we did everything wrong along the way, and we still had a shot to send it to overtime. I think the Nuggets are going to be fine, but yeah, it's getting the Heat are breaking my brain just like they're breaking everyone else's brain because you can't make sense of them. And just when you think that what you just saw from the Heat is what you're going to see moving forward, but my confusion lied watching game 2 lied less with what the Heat were doing and more with the Nuggets because like kind of what I talked about with Temp is like my belief in the Nuggets winning the championship has nothing to do with Miami. It has to do with how good I think the Nuggets are. So I'm not necessarily shocked by like the Heat playing well and hitting shots and the zone looking good and all this sort of thing. I'm shocked by like watching a Denver offense that was just such a well-oiled machine suddenly grind to a halt, and Jokic is just backing dudes down and throwing his body into them and spinning this way and spinning that way, and there's no one to pass to, and Murray would catch and Porter would catch the ball and just like take one dribble and throw up like a stupid shot. That's the stuff that's like crazy to me, and that's why I think moving forward, the part of me that thinks the Nuggets are still going to win is that I think that they are going to return to form at some point. But yeah, the Heat it's going to be an awesome series because good luck trying to figure out this Heat team. Good luck if the Heat win, man. Is it good or bad for basketball? Let's think about it this way, TJ. If the Heat win the championship, is this good or bad for basketball in terms of? I'll lay out what I mean by this. I feel like it kind of kills the regular season. There is a part of like all the media people that have been saying all year that like this are all playoffs that like every team the Heat have faced are better than the Heat, but like they're still doing this and how are they doing this and no one can really figure it out. I do think that there's going to be like a feeling that like this team is not even close to the best team in the NBA. How did they do this? But I think it's actually freaking awesome because then going into next year, like a team like how stupid must the Dallas Mavericks feel right now that they just waved the white flag on their season and they're like who cares? We don't need to get the 7 or 8 seed anyway. It's not like we're going to do anything with that.
They're fine. They're getting LeBron.
Can you explain that to me? Because I don't. How Kyrie Irving is a free agent?
Yeah.
LeBron James is under contract with the Lakers.
Right.
Kyrie Irving is not under contract with the Mavericks.
No.
And Kyrie Irving is recruiting LeBron James, who's under contract with the Lakers. So if he was to leave the Lakers, my understanding is the Lakers would have to trade him. His player option is for next year, I believe. How does that work?
If the GM wants it to happen, it'll happen. My favorite is like, they want to form a big 3 with Luka. I bet Luka has no idea this is even going on right now. I don't think he watches or checks in on basketball news when it's outside the season. I think he just does, European things.
I'm sure Luka would love the idea of playing. Luka doesn't want that. Luka doesn't want to play with this. Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, Luka wants the ball in his hands at all times. That's not what Luka wants. But I do think LeBron is definitely interested in going to Dallas right after his son committed to a Los Angeles school to play college basketball next year.
Taxes.
I think that's
taxes. Think about it like that. He established his residence in Texas. All of a sudden, saving a lot of money.
But if the Heat win, TJ,
I think it's hilarious because
I think it's hilarious.
Half
but
the teams in the East will raise banners that they actually should have won the East
Yeah,
and
right,
gone to
right.
the finals and won the Celtics will raise a banner, the Bulls will raise a banner, the Knicks will raise a banner. Like half of the country is going to celebrate the championship.
I do. It's breaking people's brains, and it continues to. But this sort of thing doesn't happen in the NBA, which is why I find it so fascinating, because this happens in college all the time. And like I brought up the Loyola example, but I mean, hell, this past tournament, going into the tournament, we knew it was going to be chaos, and then the chaos happens, and I'm still like, what the fuck? How do we get this Final Four with Miami and FAU and San Diego State? Like, what the hell? It does. It just part of you looks back on it. I remember thinking that with what was the 1 year? I'm trying to think of. There was 1 year where I was on the verge of being broken, where I was covering college basketball, and God, I'd have to go back and look, but there was like it might have. I don't think it was Loyola. It could have been Loyola, maybe. I don't. But there was like a team that made a Final Four run, and I leading up to the Final Four, I was just like having to deal with this reality of like, what if they won? And I wasn't a hater of, maybe it was Loyola. Let's use Loyola as the example. I wasn't like a hater of Loyola winning the championship, where it's like I don't want Loyola to win the championship. I was a hater of the lack of logic of like me being able to compute how a team that like wasn't even. It's not that they're a smaller school; it's that they weren't even dominant all season. And then now all of a sudden they like I can compute, like if FAU next year they're bringing a lot of their team back and they're great and they have like that Wichita State 2013 2014 situation where they're undefeated, or even if they don't go undefeated they just are a great mid-major team. I'm not confused by that if FAU runs it back and they go back to the Final Four. I'm confused by the teams that just like put it together at the right time. Your Shaka Smart VCU going on their Final Four run. Butler year 2 with Brad Stevens. Year 1 made sense. You have Gordon Hayward. You have Shelvin Mack. Year 2, it was like, those guys are gone. How are you doing this? I know the feeling well, TJ, of like, you just want your brain wants it to make sense. You just want it to add up, and I think that's where a lot of these NBA people are at that cover this all year. And that's the part of me that worries: is this bad for the league or bad for basketball? Because it's like, if Miami actually wins this, the casual NBA fan can just completely dismiss the regular season altogether. B, you can also just sort of throw out. Like every expert, so to speak, like whatever anybody says about any of these teams is like the NBA has officially become college basketball, where it's like none of us know any of this shit. Where it used to like make some sort of sense that if you have the best player or the best team, you're probably going to go to at least the Eastern Finals or at least some sort of stage. But we're now at a point where even when Giannis is healthy, the Bucks are choking up 15-point leads against an 8 seed, and even when Jokic is dropping 40 points in an NBA Finals game, the Heat are still in control, and a zone is breaking one of the best offenses, one of the best non-Golden State Warriors offenses the NBA has ever seen. I don't know. It's hilarious.
I guess thank God we have a mid-season tournament next year to save the relevancy of the regular season.
Save the regular, yeah.
Or else we wouldn't have to watch if it weren't for the mid-season tournament. That's worth everything. Have they said what you win if you win that yet?
Bronny, I think you get Bronny. No, I have no idea. That's what I'm confused by. What that I think they're going off of my understanding is it's like the FA Cup and English soccer, where they just like do it in the middle of the Premier League, but the FA Cup also includes like all the teams outside of the Premier League. So like if that's what we're doing, then you have to, like, as dumb as it sounds, you have to let like college teams play, and you have to let like high school team. I don't know who else you let play, but you have to let like other teams. You have to let like every division in to make it like a equivalent to the FA Cup. But then also the FA Cup goes back like how many hundreds of years? I don't even fucking know. But like the FA Cup has been going on in England forever. Whereas this is just popping up in 2024 as like something we're going to be doing. So I don't understand why people are going to care about this. Like, what does this actually mean? The players get money, I guess.
Okay, so yeah, they'll try. Like, I just don't understand why you would like the playoffs. Everybody ramps it up. Like, it's very obvious that Like, not people don't, take plays off or whatever, but they ramp up to super, super high intensity during the playoffs, and that's why the playoffs are so awesome. Unless there's some sort of massive prize at the end of a midseason tournament, I don't see, like, maybe the winner gets an auto bid into the playoffs. Is that a crazy thing to say? Like, would a team
that would be awesome? Like, I would actually love that. I would love that. That would be TJ. You just solved the midseason tournament. Yeah,
one team from the East and one team in the West. Whoever makes the finals auto bids into the playoffs, but then they figure out the seeding later.
I was gonna say though, the problem with that is if the Lakers next year win the midseason tournament, say goodbye to LeBron for the rest of the regular season. He is completely shutting it down so that doesn't really fix the regular season. And in fact, like,
you get ultra tanking where a team wins the midseason tournament and the 1 seed in the draft.
Yeah, exactly.
They lose every single game in the second half to get the number 1 pick.
Yeah. No, I don't know what they're gonna do, but it's. I've not seen an identity crisis for it, because this should be. This is the same thing that happens when it happens in college basketball. Is that for a casual fan, this is absolutely fun. What would not be fun about this is, like, you think going into every single year it's going to be the same boring ass teams you get in the NBA all the time, and the NBA is rigged. And to be surprised like this, to have a Heat team that was losing to the Chicago Bulls on their home court in a play-in game, and if you lose that game, their season is done. That was how close to not even making the playoffs, much less making the finals, they were. To see them go on this run, I think for a casual fan, it is awesome. Whether you like the Heat, whether you like Jimmy Butler or not, like, just the idea of the Heat doing this is encouraging for other franchises around the league too. That we don't have to have the super, like, the part of me that's a Pacers fan, which is a very small part, TJ, but it's there. It's encouraging to know that, like, the Pacers might not ever have to land a Victor Wembanyama or LeBron James, or you don't have to get a huge free agent signing. When Kevin Durant wants a trade, the Pacers don't have to be in the mix to get a Kevin Durant if they want to compete for a title, because the Miami Heat have proven that there's a way you can do it. This is all encouraging, but yet at the same time, that's like the casual part of this. But then, like, the people that are, like, living and breathing the sport every single second of every single day, they seem to be having an identity crisis right now, because they're like, if the Heat go on to win this, what the hell is my job in this? What do I? And I do empathize with them as much as I want to laugh. I know what that feeling is like, because when it happens in college, it absolutely sucks. But I thankfully am more of, like, a casual NBA fan, so I'm enjoying it, and I do enjoy the Heat, even though I am cheering for the Nuggets, if that makes sense. If the Heat go on to win, I'm not going to be salty bitch about it, but I am cheering for the Nuggets. So that's where I'm at. Anyway.
I hope the Heat win in 7, just so I can clip it out and pretend like I know what I'm talking about again. Because that's what I said.
You might be right. That would be awesome. That would be great for the show.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic. But yeah, game 3, I think if the Heat win game 3... Yeah, or if the Heat win game... I don't know. We already have a series, I guess. But it's... They're breaking my brain, dude. We got to move on. Because I think, like, it's... like I've gotten to a point where everything is obvious. I've gotten to a point where I'm like, yeah, it's obvious that, like, the Nuggets are going to, not let the zone beat them, and they're going to take better shots, and they're going to move the ball, and Jokic is by far the best player on the court, and the Nuggets are going to win game 3, and the Nuggets might win game 4, and it might still be Nuggets in 5. But then the other part of me is like, well, it's pretty obvious that that everyone's been saying about this about the Heat every step of the way. Quick break to talk about Gametime, the exclusive ticketing partner of Barstool Sports, created by fans for fans. Gametime is the ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score last-minute deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows, and they guarantee the lowest price. Here's a sport, concert, or show that I may or may not, I don't know, we're kicking it around right now. There are discussions that are being had now that the NBA Finals has turned into an actual finals and not just a Nuggets blowout. Discussions are being had of maybe potentially going to Game 5 in Denver. I'm considering it. I'm weighing my options. And I do know this. If I ultimately decide to pull the trigger on a flight to Denver to go to Game 5, I will then pull the trigger on the Gametime app for those tickets, because it is possible to do what I just laid out with the Gametime app. The biggest last-minute price drops can be found on the seats you thought you could never buy. The purchase process takes just 2 taps and 10 seconds, and once you buy your tickets, they're delivered directly to your phone. No printer needed. The app also allows you to easily share tickets with friends via text, so you can get into the game seamlessly. Skip the hassle and enjoy the moment. Download the Gametime app or go to the website, enter your email, and redeem code Titus for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download the Gametime app or go to barstool.link/Gametime app. Enter your email and redeem code Titus for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Go do it now. Gametime. If you are going to Game 5 too, I think I'll see what happens at Game 3 or Game. That's the joy of Gametime is I don't have to make my decision right now. I can wait a few days. I can wait till hell right before the game and just use Gametime app. Get in, get out, have a good time. But I'm leaning towards I think I might go. Gametime app. Use code Titus. $20 off. Let's move on. Let's talk about Zach Edey. That's what I really want to talk about this show anyway. Zach Edey coming back to Purdue. Zach Edey tested the waters. He weighed the market. He said, where will I get drafted in the NBA? The NBA said, not yet, young buck. Not yet. We're not ready for you. We're not ready for a guy of your stature. Go back to Purdue. Go see what you can do there. You have #unfinished business, TJ, in the NCAA tournament. Go do what you need to do there. And we will still be waiting for you when you decide it's time to turn professional. What was interesting about Edey, though, and why the last show we did, I didn't know which way he was going to go, and why I kind of did like the to be completely honest, I thought he was going to stay in the draft. And I thought he was going to stay in the draft because what I had read and heard and seen and all that sort of thing was that he was having a good combine, he was having a good workouts, he was showing a little more skill than I think people thought he had. I think he was. If you don't pay super close attention to Zach Edey, he does at times feel like just a laboring ogre of a big dude. I have done my part as a Purdue booster to fight against those narratives. I've pointed out that he's basically the exact same size as Isaac Haas, and Isaac Haas was half the player Zach Edey is. So if it was just a matter of Zach Edey is good because he's big, then why wasn't Isaac Haas National Player of the Year? But still, like Zach, you never watched Zach Edey at Purdue and said that guy's gonna have a long NBA career. And yet, like in these workouts, he was kind of showing a little bit more, where it was like, oh, okay, there might be something here. But I thought he was going to stay in the draft, not get drafted particularly high, and then there was going to be discussions about like, did he make the right move and all that sort of thing. So I was like getting out ahead of it. I was like, listen, if this kid stays in the draft, that's not necessarily the wrong decision. He's kind of exhausted everything there is to do on an individual level, certainly at Purdue. He's shown all he can do. He's obviously a great college basketball player. Maybe it's time for him to start his pro career. In the end, surprises me, decides he wants to come back. Great for the college game, great for the Big Ten, great for Purdue. I'm pumped. Great for me as a booster that my Boilers are going to be. I don't think number one next year. I think Kansas is kind of cemented already. I don't see Kansas losing their grip on that. But Purdue's probably number two now. Maybe Duke's up there. Should I do this now? Should I go through my top here? I think I got Kansas at number one, but I also have Purdue at number one. TJ, I have number ones, and I also have Duke at number one. I have 3 number ones. I did my own vote. I tallied my own votes, and there was a tie at the top with Kansas, Duke, and Purdue, I think. I think you can throw Michigan State in there. I think they're 1A. So there's 3 tied at 1. I have Kansas at 1, Purdue at 1, Duke at 1. I have Michigan State at 1A. I have Marquette at 2. And I think that's it. And I think that rounds out my top 2. That's how I see it right now. But wherever Purdue's ranked, they're going to be. I mean, they're going to be very, very highly ranked. They're going to be very good. We're going to get. I mean, like the parallels are certainly there, man. I mean, I get that it's Purdue. I get that we've seen this story before, but the parallels between this and 2019 Virginia are there. And I don't. Like the odds are that Purdue is not going to win a national championship, but there's reason to be excited in West Lafayette, and I do think Purdue is going to be certainly a top 5 team, if nothing else. But I'm happy for Zach. One thing I'm excited about. You should be happy, dude. Purdue's gonna be ranked number 1 now, and Rutgers is gonna beat him again.
Yeah,
another number
I'm
1
happy for Zach. He gets to get another number 1 ranking. Come back to the rack where he said his most feared fans in the Big Ten are. He said that, not me. And then he gets to get eliminated as a 1 seed against Texas A&M Corpus Christi in the tournament. Congratulations! Thanks for coming back, Zach. Enjoy the year.
The one thing I'm most excited about is that Zach Edey is showing his ability to shoot NBA threes. He's like, you're seeing these clips of him like jab stepping and putting the ball on the floor a little bit and making moves at the basket and trying to display NBA skill set. Not really against defense, but still, nonetheless, at least he's hitting wide open threes and showing us a part of his game that he hasn't really shown at Purdue. I'm excited for all of that to go away once the college basketball season starts, and for him to just park his ass on the block at Purdue and just eat post feed after post feed and just and use none of that skill whatsoever, and just like go just revert. And it's not even it's not even his fault. It's just like Matt Painter like having like the Big Ten brain that he has. He's just like pound it inside over and over and over. Or maybe it works the other way. Like maybe Edey's like, I watched you assholes brick 3 after, like, we have no perimeter. I had no perimeter help against Fairleigh Dickinson. I'm going to do it myself. We're going to see Zach Edey bring the ball up the floor. And he's just going to be a one-man wrecking crew for Purdue this year. And he's like, everybody else get out of my way.
That's almost what he did. Like their offensive style was so funny last year because they would bring the ball up the floor and he would just run down the court with his hands already in the air at like the 3-point line, get underneath the paint, and he would either take it himself or like throw it to a guy that was shooting like 40% from 3. And that was like their entire offensive scheme was either I'm dunking it or somebody's taking a 3.
So now you would think that Purdue would use Zach Edey. Like if Zach Edey can in fact hit jump shots at a consistent level,
that would be terrifying. That would be the worst.
It would be terrifying.
Horrifying.
You would think that they would, use him in ball screens, and he can pick and pop at times, and he can, just like the possibilities are endless for what this unlocks for the Purdue offense. And Matt Painter is for all the shit that he gets for choking in the NCAA tournament. I still think he's a great offensive mind. Like I still think Matt Painter, and people are going to laugh at that because of the Fairleigh Dickinson game, and I understand that, but he's. If I can get super hyper specific about this, TJ, I think Matt Painter is the best off-ball offensive coach in college basketball. I think he's the best at coaching guys. Like if you get every single coach in the country in the same gym at the same time, and guys are running offense, and then you just stop the offense, and there's a guy that's like on the opposite side of the court, and he's just standing in the corner, and he raises his hand, and he asks all the coaches in the gym, what should I be doing right now? I think Matt Painter has the best answer than anyone else for what that guy should be doing, which is probably just cut to the basket or go set a screen.
Only in the regular
probably one
season.
Of those things. But only in the regular season. But no, the stuff Purdue does off ball and the way they I mean, he's running Bob Knight motion offense more often than not. Like that's like it's beautiful basketball when it's working. Far too often it does revert into just like dumping it down to Edey and having Edey save the day. But my hope is, as a guy who did love watching Purdue for the first half of the season, and then they started smelling their own farts a little too much, both the fan base and the team, and they just became like kind of a slog to watch at times. But that first Purdue last season, to start the season, they were one of the fun surprises in college basketball. They go out to Portland, they win the Phil Knight birthday event, even though it's like 4 months before his birthday. And the way they beat Gonzaga and Duke, I think, in that event. I think they did. I think they beat them both in that event. The way the ball was, they were just so fun to watch. And then by the time the season ended, it just like it was so obvious how this was going to end for Purdue. But that first half, like before mid-January set in, maybe it was like February or whatever. But that at that moment in time, Purdue was super freaking fun, and I think they have a chance to get back to that. And my hope is that they, like, instead of picking up where they left off, they actually like pick up where they started last year, and they have like more of a free-flowing offense. And like Zach Edey is less of like a guy that we have to funnel the ball into every single time down the floor, and it's more of like a let's all play off of Zach Edey. There's like a slight difference to that, TJ. Just because Zach Edey has the ball doesn't mean you're playing off of him. And they just started dumping it into him and just letting him making him do everything, and he's good enough to do everything. But I want to see Edey. I want to see him shooting threes. That's what I want.
I have a question.
I want to see him shooting threes.
The National Player of the Year in college basketball, coming back to college after winning that award, is that a good thing or a bad thing for college basketball, generally speaking?
Well, Sheboy did it last year, and I think it was. I think it was a good thing for the sport. It was a good thing for the at a time when college basketball has so much turnover and so many roster changes and transfers, and it just feels like it's a revolving door. And I think the people that once upon a time loved college basketball and don't anymore will point to the old days when guys would go there for 4 years and stay there for 4 years, and they'll say that that's what made it good. Now that doesn't happen anymore. I think for those people to get interested in college basketball, it's obviously a good thing. That Zach Edey's name and you know what he brings to the table. And next year, if you're a casual college basketball fan, you turn on a Purdue game, you're going to see a very familiar face, and that counts for something. But Sheboy was not a great example of Sheboy is staying in the draft, by the way, and I don't want to say it flew under the radar, but Kentucky fans are kind of happy about it. Not that they don't like Oscar, it's just he's. I think you're sort of ready for the next chapter of what a weird legacy that Oscar Sheboy leaves at Kentucky, because he won the National Player of the Year, very likable guy, plays his ass off, and yet there are times where you're like, this guy is obviously a liability out here defensively. This guy is obviously not that good. Such a weird thing, and Kentucky never really did anything with him in terms of postseason success. So I think using that as the example, because the one before that was Hansborough, which was a great example. Hansborough won in 08 and then comes back and they dominate in 09 to win the national title. And then Sheboy is the next one, and that's a terrible example. So I don't know. Maybe, I think Zach Edey will fall somewhere in the middle. But I think for the casual interest, it's really good. But the way you were asking it is to have the best player in the country not even be good enough to play in the NBA. Is that what you mean? He's not even.
It's obviously it's good because it's good to have stars and marketable people in the sport as far as the popularity of the sport goes. But yeah, if the best player in college basketball isn't good enough to make the NBA, what does that mean for being the best player in college basketball?
Well, I think it means that the sports are just different too. I think that's what that my biggest takeaway from that is just that there's never been a time where college basketball and the NBA have been further apart in styles and what teams are looking for to be successful and all that sort of thing. And unfortunately with that, you're going to get more of a rift of basketball fans that are I don't know how you watch that shit. And it's both people talking about how could you watch that shit? And that's frustrating. So I think to ultimately answer your question, maybe it's a bad thing because it's just adding to the divide of NBA and college where I'm trying to bring everyone together, TJ, and I'm not doing a great job of it because more often than not I come on these podcasts and I just bitch about stuff, and I don't think bitching is a way to bring people together. But that's what I want. I miss the days. Crazy enough, TJ, there used to be a time, I remember it, I swear to God, it's not just nostalgia. There used to be a time where the conceit of the NBA was, what if we took all the best players in college and we put them in a professional league and then we let them play each other? Crazy, right? Now it's what if we created a completely different sport that sort of looks like college basketball but is different, and then we also have a DJ play music during possession so that way the crowd knows who's on defense.
That's the dumbest thing. That's one of my least favorite things about the NBA is that they just play music during the game. What?
Defense!
It's they play that on defense, but in the regular season, at least, they'll just play regular music. What?
Dun, dun, dun,
what,
dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. They play that all the time.
in any other sport, that would be a if you did that in baseball, it would be a penalty, or football, it's a penalty. Why is that how they do the NBA?
I don't know. Drives me crazy. Because I don't know. The 12-year-olds they're trying to appeal to have ADD.
Is that the idea? Is like TikTok brained kids want music in the background of everything?
No, but they've been doing that forever though. They've been doing that since when I was a 12-year-old and I was going to games and they were doing that's the song that comes to mind is the dun 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 dun. They play that as I just see I see Gary Payton backing the ball. Gary Payton is 94 feet away from the basket and he's backing down his defender who's picking him up full court. And I'm hearing dun 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 dun. Defense. Last thought on Edey coming back to Purdue. I don't know if you've looked at this, TJ, but you need to update your calendar because the Maui Invitational is going to be fucking bananas. And I am going to move heaven and earth to make sure that I am there for this year's Maui Invitational because the Kansas Jayhawks will be there, TJ. They will probably, most likely, be the number one team in the country. The Purdue Boilermakers will be there, TJ. They will probably also be the number one team in the country. The Marquette Golden Eagles will be there. They will be I think they'll probably be a top 5 team, maybe a top 10 team, but they're going to be up there. They're going to be very highly thought of. They're going to be very good. They basically bring their whole team back that won the Big East this year. Gonzaga is going to be there. They might be top 10, probably top 10. I don't know. It's way too early for this. But we're as I'm reading the tea leaves that are out there, it's feeling like Gonzaga is going to be close to a top 10 team. Tennessee has a chance to be a top 10 team. By the time Maui comes around, they're going to be there. UCLA should at least be ranked. Bone is coming back, and for God's sakes, the talent that they have in that program, and Mick Cronin has figured out they're going to lose a lot with Jalen Clark and Amari Bailey and Hockett. They're losing kind of their golden generate the Mick Cronin golden generation, if you will, but they're still going to have a ton of talent. They'll probably be ranked. And then Syracuse is in year one of the post Jim Boeheim era with Judah Mintz coming back. That's the Maui Invitational field. It's going to be insane. It's going to be the greatest Maui Invitational field of all time in terms of rankings, I think. I really do think that. I have to go back and look, though. I say that confidently when I have no idea what the current greatest field is. But the way I see it, we could have 5 top 10 teams. You could have 5 of the top 10. You could realistically have 5 of the top 10 and 3 of the top 5 in Maui playing in the same single elimination tournament.
Based on your ratings, it's actually 3 of the top 2 teams.
3 of the top 2 teams, dude. 3 of the top 2. All of them are there in Maui. I'm fired up about it. Yeah, but Purdue's going to be good. I will make a ton of jokes about Purdue the second that they have a crack in the dam. I will pile on and be like, uh-oh, is it happening? But until we get to that point, TJ, I have no problem admitting Purdue's going to be very good. I think Fletcher Lawyer and Braden Smith, as much as I didn't really crap on them last year, I just said, listen, they're the 2 true freshman guards, and neither one of them are probably future NBA players. That does not bode well for the NCAA tournament. I did not necessarily trust that they were going to be good enough to lead Purdue very far in the NCAA tournament. I do think they're going to be better, and I do think there's a world where I'll trust them next year. It's just like the freshman part I couldn't get past it. Like, if you're going to be a true freshman and you're going to if you're going to have a team of true freshman backcourt, they better be NBA players at the very least. They better be guys that are super freaking talented to that level. Otherwise, I'm not going to trust them. I'm sorry to say. I think I'm going to trust them. And having Miles Colvin, they have a great recruit coming in who's athletic as shit. I don't know. I think Purdue is going to be better, and I do think that if you're a Purdue fan that just wants optimism for once in your life, because damn it, everything that comes out of the Purdue basketball program seems to be nothing but despair. I think I give you the freedom to be optimistic because you've hit rock bottom. You've already hit rock bottom. It can't get any worse than this. You can't lose to a 17 seed, So might as well be optimistic. We might as well be happy. Edey's back. I think Purdue's going to be the favorite to win the Big Ten, even though Michigan State's going to be really good. I will probably land on Michigan State being the favorite to go. The Big Ten has a problem with this, TJ, in football as well, where it feels like there's one team that's like more suited to win the league, and then there's another team that's like more suited to actually compete nationally. Like with football, it's Michigan. Even going into this year, Michigan is going to be the favorite to win the Big Ten championship, but we all know that Michigan is not going to do anything in the playoff, and that the only hope that this conference has of winning a national championship in a football playoff is Ohio State. It's the same thing with basketball. It's like Purdue's obviously going to win the Big Ten, but when March rolls around, Michigan State's going to be the team that we're all betting on. Illinois is going to be good. The Big Ten's going to be awesome, dude. Illinois is going to be good. Indiana's going to be sneaky good, even though they're losing Hooch Fino and Trace Jackson-Davis.
Once again, there's too many good teams in the Big Ten. Just an unfair place to play if you're not a top 3 team in the country.
The Buckeyes, don't sleep on them, by the way. Or do. Actually do. Everybody sleep on the Buckeyes. Please do. Please do. Please sleep on the Buckeyes. We stunk last year. Sleep on us. We have no talent coming back. Bryce Sensabaugh left. That's going to be devastating to our chances. So go ahead and sleep on us.
You guys are getting Bronny.
Bronny didn't come to Ohio State. We're screwed. We're absolutely screwed. All right, shout-outs before we get out of here. I want to first shout out our colleague Jake Marsh for hitting a hole-in-one. That was big time. That was awesome. There was a moment in time where like Jake was kind of the co-host of this show. And so with that in mind, I sort of feel like I hit a hole-in-one, TJ. I feel like this show hit a hole-in-one because Jake Marsh, he's not on any other show at Barstool, is he really? He doesn't really like contribute to any other show. Yeah, he just goes golf and yeah. So this would count as our hole-in-one. Right. I did have one question though, and because I didn't get a chance to listen to part of my take this morning yet, so maybe he talked about this already, but he was filming himself, and I thought when I was first watching it, I thought it was like his buddy filming him, which sort of makes sense, I guess, because I don't know. Like I could see a world where you're like, hey, film me every time I'm teeing off on a par 3, just in case I hit a hole-in-one. That doesn't seem that unusual to me. I don't do it. But like I sort of understand the logic of like, yeah, what's the harm? Hey, dude, pull out your phone. I might hit a hole-in-one. But then when he hits the hole-in-one, the camera doesn't move as everyone's losing their minds. And then it dawns on me, this man set up a tripod to film himself. Is this something that Jake Marsh does? Is that he sets up a tripod to film his...
As he's become more of like a golfer, he's been doing a ton of like golfing TikToks. So I think that's legit. He's been doing like 9 holes in 90 seconds, like at least a couple times a week.
But he's filming himself. He's setting up the tripod.
He's on the grind.
Does that must not take as long as I think it does? But like I just envision.
I don't think so.
Setting up a tripod not take that long. Am I been out of the game that long? I just like I'm trying to think of like Easter Sunday in like 1997 when my mom wants to take a family picture and like.
Yeah. So yeah, the answer is yes. The tech's come a long way since 1997.
Like, God damn, is this man doing this before every golf shot?
He's not filming his TikToks on a film reel camera. He's using a phone.
But good on it. I mean, like it paid off. Like I the part of me that's like, this is stupid. Why would you set up this tripod? Jake throws it right back in my face and says, so when I hit a hole-in-one, I have footage of it, and the haters can't say anything. So, yeah, happy for him. Congratulations to Jake. Are you someone that gets? Do you golf first of all?
I mini golf. Yeah.
Okay. So bad example because I don't think you would care about this, but in general. Say you golf, would you be someone who gets jealous or you're happy for Jake? Because people seem to be split on that. Some people are just like, fuck this guy. I've been trying to do this my whole life, and how come he gets to... And other people are like, good for him.
I'm happy for Jake because I like Jake. I think he's a good guy to come to Chicago, good guy to have around the office. I think if I was playing in his group, I would like maybe secretly resent him because I'm competitive once I'm actually in the environment. Like last week we were talking about the dozen, and it seems like the consensus is like people like try to pretend like they don't care about the dozen, and then they get hyper competitive as soon as like the games start. I think it'd be the same way with that, where if I was playing golf and I was like against somebody, I would prey on their downfall. But I mean, as a bystander, I'm happy for Jake.
Yeah, I think it would depend on who does it. So I was happy for Jake. But if it was someone else...
Right. If Brandon hit a hole-in-one...
Yeah, if Brandon hit a hole-in-one, I would not be happy for Brandon. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And he would make sure that no one could ever be happy again because he would just brag about it incessantly the way he does about, like, a high school dunk contest, for example.
Yeah. If someone in my group, if one of my friends in my group hit a hole in one, yeah, it does depend on. No, I think you got to be happy for him. I think you got to. I think, yeah, I'm trying to think of like my friends that I have rivalries, like where you do get competitive on the golf course and you don't want to, but a hole in one is like a whole different. Because there have been times like friends will chip in off the green, and I'm a hard ass about that, and I'm just like, good shot, yeah, cool, and like I don't want to be happy for them because I'm trying to beat them or whatever. But I think a hole in one, you have to put that aside and just lose your mind. What else? I don't know. That might have been it. Did I have anything else? Do you have any shout outs?
Dylan Harper upgraded to number 1 in the 2024 rankings.
We're feeling good about it?
Everything. So my sources, which is nobody, tell me that
is my gut.
Yeah, he's coming home. It's gonna be a 1-year thing anywhere he goes. If he comes to Rutgers, we're gonna have the best recruiting class that year. We're gonna be number 1 in recruiting. Like that's where we would have 2 top 5 recruits and like 2 other 4-stars behind them, and a 5-star already on the roster. And Derek Simpson is gonna evolve into he'll be a junior that year. So like, we would have a banger team for 1 year.
That would be awesome.
It would be crazy so good if Rutgers had the number 1 recruiting class.
That would be so fun. But
also, we don't have nearly as much money as Duke or Indiana does for their basketball.
But he's Ron Harper's kid, right?
Yeah, and he's
So like, I think if you're a rich kid, that actually works in Rutgers' favor. You don't need like really, he doesn't need money, is what you would tell yourself. I mean, everybody needs more money, but like you would just lie to yourself and say, maybe he doesn't care about money. Maybe he's not motivated by money. Maybe he wants to play in the rack, something that Victor Wembanyama is too scared to do. True. Maybe this is a legacy play for him.
I can't even think about it too much because I'll convince myself that it's happening, and then I'll be devastated when it doesn't, because that's just how life goes. Or he'll like commit, and then like 1 day later we'll be like, actually no, and he'll decommit.
Actually, I changed. Yeah, or he doesn't get into Rutgers or something. It's a Caleb Love. His transcripts are messed up, and he goes a G League route or something. Dude, I'm bummed about Ron Holland, by the way. Kid was committed to Texas, decommitted, and he's going G League route. He was my favorite. When we had Vicini on, I said to Sam, he was my favorite of all the prospects, of all the freshman class, all the recruits, I should say, coming in this year that I have watched on YouTube. He was my favorite. He was my favorite guy that I had watched 3 minutes of on YouTube, and I was really fired up about him playing college basketball. But he's going to the G League, so we'll never hear from him again. We'll never. Unfortunately, he's dead to me now. The war on college basketball continues. UFOs. I wrote that down. Did you see this? Are you a UFO guy?
Sure.
We found UFOs or something. I thought Chief blogged about this, that they like found. Let me pull up this headline. I wanted to ask if you were a UFO guy. I'm just going to Google, did we find UFOs?
I got it. This is it. U.S. intelligence says that the government has recovered intact UFOs of non-human origin.
Yeah. Where do you stand on this?
Allow me to get this take off that I've been looking for an outlet to for a while.
That's what the show's for.
I not only think that aliens exist, I think that they've been here a lot longer than we've thought. I'm in the party that we've seen aliens. We eat aliens regularly because aliens are octopus, or octopus are aliens.
God bless you, TJ. This is why I brought this up, because as we are transitioning into an off season and into a summer, and we're both going to be moving to Chicago and working together and all that. I'm trying to find some middle ground for us. Yeah. I'm trying to find some things that you and I can bond on. Right now we have Big Ten basketball, and I don't know what else. So I think that's why I saw this UFO story, and I was like, is TJ into UFOs? I wonder if he's into aliens. That warms my heart that you're of this opinion. Did you see the octopus teacher thing on Netflix? Did you watch that documentary?
Absolutely out of this. They can't be from Earth. An octopus can fit inside of like a 12-ounce water bottle and then pour itself out of that water bottle and then harden and turn into a rock structure that would is brittle. That's not what things of Earth do. That's what an alien is. I don't know why more people are not fearing for their lives every time they see an octopus. It could easily like take over the earth if it felt like it could just walk. It could turn its tentacles into legs and walk on them. Like, that's asking for it to walk out of the water and start dominating Earth.
We are absolutely aligned in this. I think aliens exist even outside of this Earth, because there was a point in time where I was definitely anti-alien. I think, like, if you would ask me, weirdly enough, as I get older, I get more. Maybe that's not weird, but I think, like, I feel like the normal arc would be like the young, dumb dipshit kid in like high school believes in the conspiracies, and then as you get older, you're like, all right, that was just a phase I went through. I was kind of the opposite, where I was like in high school and college, and I was like, that's insane. Why would anyone entertain that? And then as I've gotten older, it's become, to me, it's almost just become like a math problem, which I think I've just seen like more representations of how big space is. You just see like more like videos of like Google Earth, and then it like zooms out, and you know, and then it just becomes like the reason I've arrived on like, yeah, there's definitely something out there, to me, is just like a math. Because I think like when I was originally thinking about it, I was like, we've sent shit to Mars. Mars looks like there's nothing really going on there, so I'm sure there's really nothing going on there. And you know, it doesn't really seem like where would the aliens be, in Mars or Venus, or
the absolute ego. The ego on humans to think that they're the only people, the only planet in the infinitely expanding universe with trillions of planets, to be like, yeah, this one's got guys on it.
Yeah, exactly. And then as I got older, I'm like, yeah, why would we think that we're the only? And so I've arrived at like, yeah, there's definitely something else out there. But then, to your point, TJ, I've also, the more you learn about the ocean, and the more you see shit about the ocean, freaks you the fuck out, and you're like, this is insane. That never mind space, like we have no idea what the hell's even down there.
Yeah,
for real. Like I mean, like, the scientists will say they do, but I'm also a college basketball guy that will tell you who's going to win the national championship next year. I don't know shit. So like, do they actually know? Are they actually down there? I mean,
it's hard to tell.
I don't know, man. I think
I for one will stay far away from the deep sea. I'm terrified of that place.
I'm very terrified of the deep sea.
Even Donnie did like this thing where him and Billy Football looked for like mammoth bones in the East River. They like went down on rope lines looking for like rare bones that apparently exist somewhere in New York. Just like going down at all, and you're at risk of like your eyeballs popping out of your head if you come up from the depths too fast. Count me out. I'm good. I've long said that I'm fine with being on sea level as long as possible.
I both am terrified of open water. Well, I'm not terrified of open water, I don't think. I'm terrified of the deep sea for sure. But I also love sailing, and I feel the call of the void, TJ. So like, I'm kind of scared of it, but like, there's something about it that like, I get in a sailboat and I just look at the horizon. I'm like, I gotta go there. I gotta go see what's over there. But I'm also like, shitting my pants as I do it, you know? So I don't know what that means, but I'm working through it. But dude, that would be sick if we had aliens, if aliens are here. If like, but octopuses can't, I don't know. We'll save this for a different show. We found something though. We could talk about this. We could talk about it is crazy that I do think that like saying the two words aliens exist used to be a crackpot thing, and I do think it's like becoming, I don't know if mainstream yet, I don't know if we're there yet, but it is like, you're no longer looked at like an insane person. Like when Tom DeLonge left music to go like fucking chase aliens, and everyone was like, this guy, throw this man into a padded room, and now all of a sudden, you know, Tom DeLonge was onto something, you know?
Yeah,
he's gonna leave Blink-1 right as soon as Blink-182 reunites. We get this news that there's aliens. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe this is a false report, and there's someone out there is trying to break up Blink-182 and trying to get Tom to chase aliens again.
Or maybe his work was completed, and now it's time for the evidence to reveal itself as he returns to music.
There we go. Another thing I want to get you into, because I'm currently addicted to 3 things right now. Number one is, well, bubble wrapping stuff. I just started packing for my move, and I bought a bunch of bubble wrap, and I started doing like the vases and stuff around the house. And then it got to a point where I'm like bubble wrapping like clothes, just because I just fucking love. I'm just wrapping that shit around everything, and That's what I'm doing. You come over to my place, I'm going to be doing one of two things, or one of these three things, TJ. I'm going to be bubble wrapping like everything in my house as I'm putting it in boxes. I'm going to be playing the Zelda game, which I want to talk to you about. And then I've been reading. I hate that I've been doing this, but I really hate that I've been doing this. But I've become very obsessed with reading about fatal car racing accidents because I don't know what it, like, we talked about it briefly about how from the Indy 500 the tire goes into the stands and everything, and it's just sent me down like a rabbit hole where I'm just like reading about and I'm not like a morbid guy, so it's not like I'm not like turned on by that part of it. It's not like I want to read about death. But I think there's just some part of my brain, and the same way you'll watch like a World War I or World War II documentary and just think like, holy shit, people used to actually do this. Like they used to fight wars like that. Oh my God. I have that about car racing where like I think I just like watch this shit just to be like, this is insane. This is actually insane. So anyway, I wanted to tell you about that.
Talked about the Indy 500 crash last week, I guess. The next day, I got a TikTok about the Tony Stewart dirt track crash.
When you hit the guy, yeah, that one's not as interesting to me because that one's kind of explainable.
Right.
That one's kind of.
Bro tried to block a car with his hands.
I read the one that like just blew my mind was I was reading about the 1960 Belgian Grand Prix that had two dudes. It was a Formula One race that had two guys die in the same race, not even in the same crash. And one dude, Alan Stacey's his name, was killed because they believe that a bird flew into his face and hit him you got your head out of the car. It's not like a NASCAR. He's driving along and it's like a Randy Johnson situation and the bird just fucking smokes him in the face and that's why he crashed and died. And I don't know. I read that. Exactly. I read that and I just think like, imagine if that happened today. Like, imagine if this is what, like that's insane that this was like a sport. It was insane to me too that they had two guys die in one race and they finished the race. Which I don't know. I've just become fascinated with that. I don't know. It's not a conscious thing. It just kind of happened where I watched the Ayrton Senna doc about Ayrton. How do you say his name? Ayrton Senna, the Brazilian dude who died in 1994. Who was like a legend of Formula One and won the Formula One titles, like won like 3 of them, and then he died in a crash in '94. I watched that documentary again. I'd already watched it, and I like watched it the other day. I don't know what TJ, I got to get out of this. I don't know how to. I'm just like stuck in this rabbit hole of like reading and watching car wrecks. Not just car wrecks, but like fucking racing car wrecks.
You should look into the Isle. Have you heard of the Isle of Man Superbike race?
Oh yes.
It's like the deadliest race in the world. People die literally every single year in this race. I'm looking at it now. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 people died last year on this course. It's literally like people go there to try to not die and win. It's I don't know. Like we had a guy that climbed Everest on the Yak briefly last week, and that's like I think the same sort of like adrenaline addiction where it's like, what can I do that will push me closest to like the limits of human possibility and come out all right on the other side. That is the craziest thing I could possibly think of doing is something like climbing a mountain like that or doing a superbike race where you know there's a chance that you're not like finishing it. I am the more I read into stuff like that, the more I realize how big of a pussy I actually am.
Yes.
I don't know if you feel the same way.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. That's my takeaway. Yes. But that's why I'm so fascinated by it though. That's why when I watched All Quiet on the Western Front, my jaw's just on the ground like, holy shit, that this was everyday life for these people.
Yeah, I'm good.
As I get older, I get more that way, I think. The other one that blew my mind is it's on YouTube. You can find it. The 1964 Indy 500, Dave McDonald and Eddie Sachs died in this crash. And the video is on the internet, which like obviously those of you listening, like, you know, if you don't want to see a bad crash, maybe don't search that. But the fireball that explodes is just like it's nuts. It's not. I don't know. it's crazy that this used to just be a thing that could happen when you get like I put myself in the I guess like part of it too is like I watch this stuff because I want to celebrate like how far racing has come and like how safe it's become, and like it's not perfect anymore and guys are still at immense risk obviously, but yeah, to see what happened at this year's Indy 500 and the tire flies off and the car flips over, and as I was at the track and I saw it happening, no part of me was like, I bet that guy might be dead, you know, or like, holy shit, I hope he's not dead. Like I was like, yeah, he's gonna be fine, because you've just been conditioned at this point as a race fan. At least I have. I don't know. Safety has come so far. They've done such a great job that like it takes something actually insane for you to think that guys are at risk. But just to see these old videos and read these old stories is nuts, because that was just like an everyday thing. Like if you're going to a race. If you're going to an Indy 500 in like the 60s and 50s and before that, hell, in 1996, the pole winner of the Indy 500 died in practice. But if you're going to like these races, in the back of your mind, you're like, someone might die today. That's crazy to me, because like it never, like when I go to the Indy 500, that's not on my mind. Like I'm not like, yeah, this is something that could happen today. So anyway, that's a rabbit hole that I've fallen into, and I desperately want out, but I can't get out. But I wanted to talk to you about Zelda, because I think. You have to buy this game, TJ, and I think I'm gonna do this for you. I'm gonna buy you a Switch, and I'm gonna buy you Zelda, because I need you to play this game. This is my housewarming gift to you as you go to Chicago. I have become addicted to this game. I suck so bad at it, but it is consuming my life. And I think what I need, because you're a gamer, I think I'm gonna buy you a Switch, and I'm gonna buy you the Zelda game. And your homework is you have to play it and teach me how to play it. Yeah. Like I know how, I just can't do it. Like I can't. These fucking goblins that want to fight me all the time. I'm getting one hit killed like a motherfucker out there too. I'm trying to just like patrol trying to just go on a nice hike through a forest and up a mountain and shit, and just like collect fruit, and you know, every so often I'll jump off the mountain and use my like paraglider to fly around. That's pretty fun. I'm having a good time just like gallivanting around the universe. And then all of a sudden, like the music changes, and then these like dudes, the freak looking dudes, like come out of nowhere, and they're licking their lips, ready to fight. And I'm like, all right, let's fight. And then my camera's like all over the place. I can't make sense of where I'm at. I'm trying to switch my weapon. I'm like dropping my sword, and then they just come up with like a wooden stick and hit me in the head, and I'm dead. And then it starts me all the way back. Like I'd gone on this like a long hike up a mountain, and it starts me like all the way back at the bottom of the mountain, and it's becoming very frustrating, but I can't quit playing it, because it is the best video game I've ever played in my life, and it's not my favorite video game. It is just the best video game. And I freaking love it, and I suck at it, and I don't know, and I'm just stuck in this weird position that I'm like, I need help, and I want TJ to help me. So, all right, if I bought you a Switch, if I send you a Switch and Zelda, would you play it?
Yes. What? Yeah, I'll see how fast I can beat the game before, but if I could beat the game, if you have a month head start on me.
Are you serious? I don't know if you're like into.
I would ask you not to. You don't have to spend $350 on me.
No, I'm going to, because I'm gonna give one. This is good. This is good show synergy. You know, camaraderie. We got a thing here. When you were producing Brandon's show, did you ever buy you a Switch or anything?
He barely bought me a water bottle.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So this is good for team chemistry here, but also I selfishly just want you to report back to just be like, you know, when this happens and you can't do this, you know, if you just hit this button, that'll solve everything, right? And then I'll be like, oh my God.
You're hiring me as a gaming tutor.
Yes, you're my gaming tutor, dude. Because
I'm your coach.
I'm telling you, the second we get done with this show, I am going to go fire it up. I discovered this cool island in the sky. They have like sky islands now, and I discovered this cool one that looks like the Death Star. Last night, after the finals game, I was playing around, but then it was bedtime, so I was like, I don't want to. I was like, I'll save it for tomorrow. And I'm so excited to go die like 1,000 times on this island. I'm so excited to just like. I fall off the islands too. I told you that. Like I'll just ride the horse and like I dismount the horse at like the wrong angle, and then I'll just like fall off a cliff. It's so fun, and I want to share this with somebody. And since you're a gamer, I'm just gonna buy you a Switch, and we'll do it that way. So
if you must, thank you.
I think that's it. That could be. I think we touched on everything. I'm excited for Game 3, though. We'll do a show after Game 3, and we'll see who's going to win the finals based on Game 3. And we'll just whoever wins Game 3 is going to be in the driver's seat of the finals, and we'll overreact to that. But it is going to be a fun finals, and hopefully people. I don't think it's going to work that way. I think people have already made up their minds. I think people saw Miami, Denver. I think they saw an 8 seed, and they said this finals is going to stink. And even if it goes to 7 and it's won on the last second shot, everyone's going to be like, I didn't watch because I thought it was going to be boring. And I don't think people get back into things. I think it's like once you say you're out, you just kind of stay out. But maybe not. Maybe Game 7 could get people back in. I don't know. We'll see. See you guys Wednesday night.